Hello, everybody. Hail Satan and hail yourselves because you deserve it. We're going to be looking at the Jacob and Esau story. It's out of the book of Genesis, chapter 25, 19 through 34. I believe that is the beginning of when they were born because it says at birth Esau was a red and hairy, and he became a wandering hunter while Jacob was a shepherd. The reason I want to talk about that story is because of the dishonesty of God. Yeah, the dishonesty of God. Uh, I don't know if anybody's ever heard that story before, but I bet a lot of people have. But it was where Jacob got the blessing and Esau didn't. And there's something wrong with that because here's how it goes. Okay. Their father knew he was about to die. And Esau wanted a blessing. And he told Esau to go out and get some of his wild game. Now, if we all have eaten wild game, especially deer meat, we'll know the difference between deer meat and another meat. We'll be like, no, that's not deer meat. So wild game is basically the same taste, I think. Out through all the eating you can do. Uh, see, and then Jacob, his mom heard this and wanted him to get the blessing. So Jacob went out and killed a goat and brought it back in and said, Father, here I am with your, you know, I'm going to call it tasty meats. Here I am with your tasty meats. And his father said, hurry, Jacob, bring them to me. And he ate of it and couldn't tell he hadn't eaten wild game. He ate something else. It wasn't wild game. But anyways, let's just go on with the story. So he got fooled into believing that Esau had brought some wild game. And now Jacob has received the blessing. And then Esau comes back with his wild game, the actual wild game, and said, hurry, father, I have your wild game, for bless me. And he goes, I thought I already have blessed you. Yeah. Don't you think that God would have seen the honesty in that? And did you know that later, Jacob, if I remember right, became to be Israel? And Israel means God's chosen people. How come God is choosing all of these motherfuckers that are being deliberately dis-fucking honest as hell? You know, out of all, I had a brother once. He's dead now. But I had a brother, and me and him didn't get along. But if my dad was going to pass him a blessing and that shit was real, I would let him get his blessing. My dad would know the difference too. He would know, and that's how the Jacob and Esau story also can't be real, because how come he didn't know the distinguish between the voices? How come he couldn't distinguish between them? He didn't know that he didn't know that he was about to get Jacob's so-called other tasty meats. Besides the wild game tasty meats is what he wanted in the first place, but he didn't know now that that wasn't Esau. Yeah. There's no way that Jacob could have covered up his voice to where his dad could not tell that that wasn't Esau. And how does he sound? And if he did sound like Esau, how did he get it down so perfect? Wouldn't his dad would have known there was something weird in that? I think I would have known. But this dishonesty. It's like the King David story. I'm not going to go back through it, but his dishonesty. He killed a man, all because he didn't want him to figure out that he got his wife pregnant. Man. Yeah. And then the Bible does even more fucked up things. it goes on to perversion to get more perverted. Uh, and there is some big dishonesty too in the Bible about God, about him saying he's all loving because he's not. It's all this dishonesty. He doesn't like perverted things like the Bible has in it. So why does the Bible have it in there? It's kind of some. That seems like something dishonest is going on. Uh, you know, it's like me when I say I'm my own God. Like I've gotten rid of all my violent video games except Alone in the Dark. But Alone in the Dark really isn't violent. That's really, I mean, the newer one, you can make it kind of violent, but you can also pick, like I pick, I like to enjoy the game. So it's not going to be that violent because I know that when I get it anymore, like the reason why I sold my other violent games because they are that violent. And they want you to know that violence is going on. So when I lose, I start to hit myself. So I changed. You see, now I'm being honest with you. There's nothing dishonest behind that because I have nothing to gain. I have nothing to gain by being dishonest. In the end, if you're dishonest, you'll end up with nothing. Nobody can trust you. You see, that's why I don't get why these Christians they say they read the Bible, but I can't tell because if they did, they would have found the same things I found. I even know about other religions because I went out and looked into them. You know, and I love to have the knowledge of those because I can honestly tell people about them. And if I can't quite remember, I'll know where to look because I'll remember where I read it. And I can find it in there and give you the honest answer. But I'll never answer dishonestly to you. But this God character deceivement just seems like a big thing. Even Eve basically did wrong to Adam by eating of that fruit. God hates women if he is real, because the woman did the original sin, first sin ever was to eat from that tree. And then throughout the Bible, the daughters of Lot were offered to the men of the town that wanted to rape the angels. The concubine in Judges being raped all night and then dying in the morning. Uh, Mary having to have Jesus, which was also dishonest because Mary was with Joseph. Why did she get pregnant with God? Isn't God against that? But it's dishonest. So why would anybody why should a God even care if anybody's like, is that honest? And if he is real, he doesn't. That seems like a shisty character. That's who you want to believe in. There's plenty of other gods out there. Some of the gods I've read are more worth worshiping because of what they've done compared to Jehovah. Jehovah does it the way I've seen Jehovah and what I've studied in the Bible. And I studied for a long time. I studied the Bible 5 different times. That means Matthew to Malachi, because I'd start in Matthew first, as the Christians say, start in the New Testament, and then read the Old Testament. And the Old Testament begins in Genesis and ends in Malachi. And that's how I read it, Matthew to Malachi, studying it. Everything I read, just taking it to heart, to my mind, and coming up with some type of explanation for it. There is no explanation for God. Well, Jehovah. There just isn't. And I wouldn't try to go over to the Muslims either because they're they believe in some type of underage sex stuff. Just like Mary in the Bible, she was a young person. Because you gotta understand that back in the Bible days, did you know that kids were becoming kings and being married? Yeah, read it's in the Old Testament. Uh, so you can bet it carried on. It seemed like this guy that wrote the Bible really liked that underage sex. Just like Noah and his daughters up in the mountain, they're still children. And then Lot and his daughters, but his daughters are still children. And they're having all this sex together and they're being able to be married and all this. You don't see some type of red flag about that. It's like the popes, they're having, I mean, well, you know, Catholics, I should say. I bet the Pope is a child molester too, but they like to molest children. I was in prison one time, and there was this guy in there that said that he explained his case. He even got beat up for it and everything. And he said that he told those kids that the only way to Jesus was through giving him a blowjob. Yeah, seems and this happens in the Bible too. See, don't just say, "Well, they're not real Christians." No, it's in the Bible too. Why is it in there? And you can say, "Well, why are you talking about this?" I'll be like, "Because child molestation is dishonest too. If everybody's supposed to be an adult before they have sex, why are they underage having sex? They shouldn't." Some people's parents, they would have heard their kid lost their virginity. Their kid might have been grounded for the rest of his damn life, or her damn life. They would have been in trouble big time. I know if my dad would have figured out, I would have received the ass whooping of my life. And I don't mean paddle ass whooping, I mean this type of ass whooping and choking me and all this other stuff. Uh, yeah, dishonesty. This Bible, see, I was indoctrinated in this Bible when I was younger, so I still had some of the traits of Jesus, and I still feel those things not as strong anymore, but I still feel those things in my mind of what if they are a reality. But I'm not going to follow some God either. Like I said, if I knew he was real, I would still have the choice to follow him. I'd still have my free will, and I would pick no. Because why? This God does a lot of crazy things, and he allowed a lot of crazy things to happen. And if he's God, and he's supposed to be perfect, why is he not being perfect? That's dishonest too. If you're perfect and you're not supposed to have anything fuck up your plans, and they do, you've just lied to everybody. Because if you're perfect, you'll always remain perfect. So it's dishonesty because he lied to us. Adam and Eve had to just eat of that fruit, didn't they? Damn those fucking heathens. But guess what? Now we're all fucking heathens. Unless, I guess, if you're a Christian and you're saved by the blood of Jesus Christ and he resides in your heart, you still, that's not true either. Because if God can't look upon sin and Jesus is God, then Jesus can't be in there. He could have never died on the cross for your sins, is what I'm basically getting to. Because he's God in the flesh. Why not? Why not? Read it to you out of your own book. Let's turn to the Gospel of John, chapter 1. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Remember those. The Word is God. You go down here to verse 14. And the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Which means Jesus. But what does it say? The Word. became flesh. You say that Jesus left him. Well, no, he didn't. I mean, God left Jesus in the end. No, he didn't. The Holy Spirit was still residing in Jesus when he was hung on that cross. It was after he gave up the ghost in one of the accounts did he finally die. No, God's Spirit is God. So God is still inside of him. He can't take upon all the sin of the world because God cannot look upon sin. Plain and simple. If God can't look upon it, he can't die for it either. But you see, he lies and he's dishonest. Dishonesty. Wow. You know, I'm so glad I got away from Christianity. My mind has never been better to remain honest. White lies are told by everybody. But I don't have to white lie to anybody, really, if I don't want to. I mean, neither do you. They say the truth sometimes will hurt somebody. No, uh, it will, but it shouldn't, even though it does, and it's sad. But you can also get along with that person and tell them what you think about what they're asking of you. And you can get along with that, or you don't have to like it. But the truth must always, even if there is a white lie somewhere, the truth must always be told. But you see, the Bible's not with white lies. No, it's full of lies and dishonesty. And the reason why I keep talking about it is because, I mean, I want you to see this. I want you to be able to understand why it is I talk to you the way I do without having to psychobabble. And I'm talking about me, about psychobabbling. You'll see that I'm not psychobabbling if you really look at it. You can't tell me one thing I've said that's psychobabble. Unless you're just gonna not believe in what I've shown you as proof. Uh, if I've shown you proof and you still don't try to accept it, then you're just stubborn and you'll never learn. But like I said, I just want to tell the truth, and there's nothing wrong with telling the truth. Depends on, and you don't even have to white lie. Just either get along with it or don't. But let the truth be known. That's how you escape white lies. Yes, I know and I understand. Like I said, somebody's feelings might get really hurt, but they don't have to get hurt. But remember what I said. Go tell them of what your thinking is of it, and give them the credit of what they're trying to ask too, unless it's something stupid like that. There's times when the truth can come in real easy, like if somebody's trying to make your day a living hell by doing things to you. Yeah, tell the truth when they ask. Yeah, this is a sparkling ice, caffeine, zero sugar, vitamins with antioxidants, and it's blue raspberries. Pretty good. Yeah, so glad it's not a beer. Jesus is dishonest too, which who is God, because he says he'll do anything you ask as long as you follow his commandments. When I was a Christian, I was following the commandments. Even again, it led me to drinking. It led me to knowing my prayers weren't going to obviously be answered to stop drinking. And that's, when I became honest with myself, I realized I could stop drinking. It's only dishonest if you say you can't, because if you can, you don't know until you try. And when you try, really try. And better yet, instead of just really try, Be the sober person. That's all you got to do. That's the whole thing. I mean, have routines in your day. Like I said, I've got books. I make videos. I have, we could all come together. Even maybe the religious people won't, but like alcoholics and people who call themselves alcoholics and drug addicts. I don't even call myself an alcoholic or a drug addict really anymore because I realize that if I keep associating myself with names to describe certain things of what they are, then I might be trapped for the rest of my life. I thought about that, and that's what made me not have to go to meetings. I don't even have to say I'm an alcoholic or an addict. Every now and then I'll say it, it'll slip, but I don't mean it. I'll now quickly try to correct it. And but yeah, I just live as a sober person. That's what I'd rather be called instead of I'm an alcoholic or I'm an addict. I'd rather just say I'm a sober person and stay sober and don't go to places either to where it's talked about. Because what if my mind gets enticed? I'm kind of weak minded when it comes to addiction, but I am strong willed. Yeah, I'm more brute than brains. I have to do things like read books, play video games, make these videos, spend time with my wife, say hi to her mom and dad every time I see him, and hang out with her brother whenever he comes to visit. But yeah, but this God character, let's just get back to the thing. Uh, this God character, though, is very dishonest, isn't he? I mean, you can't tell me I'm lying. I've already brought proof. But anyways, I'm running out of words to say. This video is 22 minutes and 4 seconds. And hail yourself because you deserve it. Hail Satan. I know I say it different every time, but who says I got to say it the same time every time? Yeah, it's what I want to do. It's part about being your own God. And when you're your own God, you can be really honest. Well, hail Satan, hail yourselves because you deserve it, and have a nice day.